fuck, I don't know what I'd be comfortable adding that isn't already there, right? I mean, if Hassan wants to say, I don't know, like we should adopt like, I don't even like what could Hassan even propose? Like, oh, we're gonna do re-education camps. Like, yeah, no, obviously, no. I wouldn't be in favor of trying to compromise with the kind of extreme tanky left level things on the Democratic Party platform. But I mean, and to the extent like take Straighter Aid for example, right? That she's a commie. She's a Hassan fan, is my understanding.
She's also the great betrayer, obliterator, rifter of orbits. Okay, the butcher of orbits. The great betrayer.
But she also canvassed for Kamala Harris and like voted for Kamala. And to the extent that people like that want to come out and just support Democrats and they're like, yeah, I've got these extremist views, but I certainly understand that voting for Kamala is the strategically correct thing to do. I don't know why we would.
Yeah, but that's like the bottom of the barrel, low bar. Okay. Not only that, like, it's fine if you're a communist IRL and you vote for Kamala and you advocate voting. That's good. Okay, but do you know what's not good? Like her personal history, okay? You probably shouldn't be associating with this. Listen, if she wants to help out with canvassing efforts, let her, okay? I would let her in for canvassing efforts. Fuck it, all right? You're here to do some real work, fine. Here's a list of houses. Here's the streets that you should cover. Go. Go. Fine. You want to do that? Go. However, okay? Probably shouldn't be friends. I mean, it's not doxing when you have personal info on your profile. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I don't even think it's doxing. I think it's just like, it's like some form of harassment, right? I don't think, technically it's not really doxing, technically. If Dan is constantly listing off his fucking LinkedIn.
Do away that, people said I wanted to shrink the tent or whatever. But then people are like, fuck all these far leftists, fuck them. I don't want them anywhere near any Democratic Party organizing. And it's like, well, if the extent to which they want to interact with Democratic Party organizing is just, hey, do you need help canvassing? Or, hey, like, can I help push my audience to canvass for you in this congressional? Like, what's wrong with?
I mean, again, it isn't that Straighter Aid is just simply out there canvassing, right? It's not just like Straighter Aid is out there canvassing and that's it, right? If that was the extent of it, there would be no problem. But we're talking about segments on Pisco's stream where Straighter Aid has an entire fucking segment. No? Does that make sense? You have segments literally revolving around that. And not only that, fuck. And the only person to push back on her was Hutch. Hutch debated Straighter Aid. Again, like, I'm just going to say this for the 50th billionth time, okay? If Hutch wasn't this dogpiled, I wouldn't be defending Hutch this much. I wouldn't. Because it shows that he can, like, I don't know, whatever, man. He's like, whatever. But, like, the thing is that he's clearly being unfairly dogpiled. He's not giving any kind of good faith by any of his fucking co-hosts. It's crazy.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that, I mean, that's it. I don't think there's anything unsensible about that. But anyway, guys, let me let's talk to the chat. GD, I don't know if you're still here. Let me see. Somebody messaged me. But anyway, that's my opinion, guys. And so let me respond to some of the comments or questions in the chat. Maybe you guys disagree with my perspective on things.
I'm so hungry.
Let's see. So we're on meeting with the Anti-Semite of the Year winner is unbelievable. Yeah, I don't recall the organization that gave us on the Anti-Semite of the Year award, but I mean, look, even that, like, let's take I don't know, like what would be like the most extreme, like, right?
Pisco's not dating Straighter Aid, is he? I'm kidding.
Like, okay, Steve Bannon, for instance, right? To the extent that people criticized Gavin Newsom for his interaction with Steve Bannon, it was because
Hutch is also being kind of cowardly too because he's scared to actually fully call out his code. Well, they're friends, right? The thing is that they're friends. Like, how much more do you expect him to call them out? Like, burn bridges with them over this? Probably not, right? You actually want to debate them, right? Because if you burn bridges, you're not going to be debating them, right? No more debates, no more content. Okay, no more discourse. I don't know. Is Orlando starving you? I hope so.
If I'm not mistaken, he invited Steve Bannon onto his platform, and then he chose to have a friendly conversation with him. Okay, that's worthy of criticism, right?
Here, I'll give an example. Do you see Destiny debating Vosh now? Wow, I can't believe last time they debated was like last week. That was great content. Amazing. Oh, I'm kidding.
If I was like a congressperson and I invited Hassan to like my own podcast and I decided, hey, I'm just gonna have this buddy talk with Hassan, that would obviously be worthy of criticism. But to the extent that it's literally the opposite, for instance, again, if I was running for governor or something and Steve Bannon invited me onto his
Would you debate, have a discussion with Wick over his policing of Democrat discourse? Yeah, but I just don't see like anything that would come of it. Why the fuck would I talk about it with him when he essentially had the same debate already and circle jerked it on his own show, right? Like I'm talking about with like Destiny and Not So Erudite and all of that. He literally had a panel surrounding it that has already happened. I would just be repeating the same fucking points, right? Like it would just be an identical debate. But yeah. But sure.
Show. And if he just wanted to give me a softball interview where he exposes me to a bunch of like alt-right audience figures and puts a friendly face towards a Democrat, I don't see a huge problem with that. But if he again starts bringing up his weird conspiratorial bullshit, yeah, you have to go hard in the paint on that, right? But again, that just goes to what I think to be a good min-max of the risk and reward of just like going on these platforms. I don't think it's a good idea to just generally speaking as a rule say that, well,
Hutch is downplaying how much it bothered him. I mean, it clearly bothered him a lot. He had a whole stream on it and multiple streams on it.
And some people obviously.
Although, yeah, I think I do agree that Hutch needs to get out there. I think at this point, I think it's okay to remain friends, but it's just like it's just weird vibes, you know? Like, does that make sense? It's like they're starting to like you kind of get the feel that there's tension going on, right? Between a group of you know how you're in a group of friends and you disagree with everyone else and everyone gained up on you like one day and then you guys just kind of forget about it and then just move on. But then the tension is still there. The topic may have moved on, but the tension is still there. That kind of feels the same with Hutch, except the topic is still there.
I don't know that there would ever be any like potential for valuable discussion, or any like valuable like Alex Jones. Like I don't know that I would ever. I don't know if I was running for anything that I would ever want to go on Alex Jones's platform because it's like almost like purely a conspiratorial audience. It's like it seems like just a completely insane.
No, tension is the best thing for that show, but I think Hutch should look out for himself if he really wants to, right? I do actually think maximizing content is best. I do think maximizing debate and content is best because that's what you're supposed to do. As a content creator, you're supposed to have discourse, right? That's the entire point. So I don't think Hutch should live and learn. I don't think so. I don't. It's just not good for content, okay? If anything. But like, yeah.
Environment. Alex Jones himself seems like an extremely volatile figure. But Hassan, who's had multiple conversations with like high-ranking people in the Democratic Party, and it seems like those interviews have gone just fine, and it seems like there hasn't been like this like wild amount of controversy with any kind of association with a guy like Hassan.
Wait, what? Wait, so you denying like how much influence Hassan and others have, but you literally just acknowledged that Hassan literally like talk to them? What? Do you not have? I can't tell if he's trolling. I can't tell if he's trolling at this point. You're telling me that, oh, you're like downplaying the amount of influence Hassan and co has, but you're willing to acknowledge that he literally had a conversation with. How do you reconcile these 2 points? How do you do it? I'm actually jealous. I'm jealous of his like gymnastics. He's like bending over backwards for Hassan.
I just think it's fine. I think that's just different.
He's trying to have his cake and eat it too, if that makes sense, right?
Kind. So, maybe people disagree, but again, like to the extent that Zohran Madani is a controversial person in New York politics, it's not because he had a sit-down dinner with Hassan. Let's see. The first one was Charlie Kirk, if I remember correctly, and he completely fucked that up. Not sure what you mean. Oh, you're talking about Gavin Newsom's podcast? Yeah. Well, Gavin Newsom seemed to, he did take a heap of shit for giving like this kind of buddy-buddy bullshit with a bunch of these right-wingers on his show, and he seems to have literally 180 as soon as he saw all that backlash, so that's good. Not many Dems can handle going on conservative, leftist, etc. podcasts. Pete and James Talrico are a very small camp. I mean, yeah, that's another point. Like I tweeted out that I was like, yeah, James Talrico seems like an interesting guy to run for Senate, even though I think of him as like a more moderate person. Modern politics, Josiah, you want to weigh in on Trump versus Hassan or Hassan versus Kirk hypothetical, seeing them everywhere on Twitter. Yeah, it's kind of, obviously it's an absurd hypothetical. For those that don't know, Josiah is referencing that people have been asking the question of like, who would you rather be president, or like who would you rather vote for in a discrete instance, Hassan or Charlie Kirk, or Hassan or Trump? And I guess it's a little bit because Hassan, my understanding is no, Hassan was born in America. Yeah. So he's a fully naturalized American citizen, if I'm not mistaken. So he would be eligible to be president. But nonetheless, yeah, like people have made that comparison. Like who would you vote for, Trump or Hassan, if those were your two options? And again, I just to me the answer just seems like definitely Hassan would be the answer, right? That yeah, like Hassan would be.
Dude. Okay, so we have a dumbass who is an authoritarian versus someone who's a little bit smarter than a dumbass, but still a dumbass, but like lefty authoritarian. I don't know, dude. I think I might actually consider voting for Trump. I'm not gonna lie. It would give me pause, at least. Right? You have someone who is like a complete grifter authoritarian versus another person who is a complete grifter authoritarian. I don't know. At this point, you might as well vote for both.
Like would be wild in as president in like so many different ways, right? Like our foreign policy would be fucking like not only would Hassan himself probably be an incompetent administrator, not necessarily a very good just head of the executive branch, right? But also we would have just like wild policies.
I don't think one communist president would make the country communist. I agree with that. I think I would still vote for Hassan over Trump. Because Trump is insane. Anybody is better than Trump at this point. Yeah, but
on probably a number of things, right? Like our foreign policy would be very, very strange. I think, I think that some of the people he might appoint would probably be dumb and bad and stuff, right? But no, I don't think Hassan, commie or whatever, is worse than Trump the fascist. And to the people saying that, like, I just don't like.
Not okay.
What evidence do we have of this? I mean, I know that Hassan's never had political power before, but it just seems like the evil that we know is Trump, and it is evil, right? And to the extent that the institutional constraints will constrain Hassan as well, to the extent that Hassan would probably tilt towards, being a slightly more rational figure once he actually takes like real political power, which we've seen him do in a number of circumstances as well, insofar as like he's willing to kind of moderate a lot of his rhetoric when he talks to DNC figures. I just think you expect that to happen as well. Same thing with like him versus Charlie Kirk. Yeah, like I think Hassan, I don't know, like people might disagree, but I think Hassan would be like a better leader than Charlie Kirk. Personally speaking, Charlie Kirk, again, fascist adjacent, wouldn't really be comfortable with it. So that's just me. I keep on missing the YouTube chat. Here we go. Found it. If Pisco is Robb Stark and Destiny is Joffrey, who would Econoboi be in this drama? Man, I have no idea. I'm probably just some weird fucking hanger-on. Obviously, Pisco and Destiny.
But just FYI, that there's no reason to give that hypothetical in the first place. Why give a hypothetical if it doesn't move the argument forward, right? Like, what exactly are you answering by making that hypothetical? Think about it, right? What's the point? It's Kingler, guys. Right now, it's Kingler in YouTube chat right now. Can everyone say W Kingler? Fucking W Kingler, dude. It's fucking Kingler. Everyone knows Kingler, dude. Kingler is like the #1 person forever, dude. Everyone knows Kingler, my king. There's only one person I would die for, and it's fucking Kingler. Okay, all right. Return of the Kingler. Okay, all right. #1 person forever and ever. Okay, you don't even need to know who this person is. Okay, you just need to cheer for him. Okay, all right. He is our new god.
You're going back and forth. I just want to clarify my own positions. Pisco and Destiny have this kind of falling out at this point. But I don't know. One thing also worth addressing is that it seems like every time we have a fight on Live and Learn, people are like, "Oh my goodness, is Live and Learn going to end?" Here's one thing I'll say about myself, Hutch, Pisco, and Josiah. And who knows? Maybe in 2 years, these words will come back to bite me. Okay. However, from every interaction I've had with the three of them, and hopefully they would say with every interaction they've had with me, the four of us are pretty fucking adult about the way that we handle these things, right? Like all four of us seem to fully understand that it's a show that we do, that sometimes we have big disagreements, sometimes we yell at each other, but it's just not a big deal. It's just not a big deal, okay? We have never, ever...
Kingler, sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about you, and I start like crying, I start crying and sobbing over thinking about it. I was like, oh my God, he's such a king. And I start crying, and I can't stop crying. Okay.
Ever we have a group chat. We've never after a show been like, you went a little too far here, and yeah, I just don't know. I like what you said. That's never happened. We've never even had the discussion to kick one of us off or to stop doing the show. I think that people have this kind of, I guess podcasts a lot of times do break up, and there is like blow up fucking drama that just like blows a hole in the podcast, and you never know what could happen with any particular podcast or what drama might end it. But
obey
just
Kingler.
Like having a bunch of, I don't know, just like yelling at each other and like having some debate about some political issue. Like, I don't know. Live and Learn, guys, we've done a pretty good job of just being sensible about those things.
Listen, the moment that Kingler said to Jay Stelk, hey, I got to take my kids to see 4th of July fireworks or some shit, I was like, he is truly a king. Truly a poet king. Anyway. Slimy Econoboi acting like this is the reason for Destiny and Pisco's falling out. Yeah, that's not particularly the reason, I think.
Let's see. To
be fair, Pisco and Destiny always had a little bit of tension. A tiny bit, not too much.
These viewers canceling their subs, yes, because of my Hassan versus Trump Hassan endorsement, right? I mean, to be fair, I don't know that Taiwanese viewers would feel much comfort with regard to Trump either, but maybe it depends on the person. Let's see. Scroll up to see my previous chat message, please. Fine. X natural phenomenon. I'll try to find it. Anyway, I think I understand the whole drama. I talked to Pisco. Hutch watched it and said I was spot on. Said I was based. Okay. I'm not sure. I'll take your word for it. If Hassan got everything he supported, wouldn't that be worse than Trump? For example, re-education camps or support of Russian annexation. Yeah, but Neville, I mean, I take your point. It's not that I want to dismiss your point. I take it that Hassan is a very radical person. Yes. So Hassan has endorsed things like re-education camps. But look at Trump. He's opening up alligator Alcatraz. Now, if we were to say, hey, compare alligator Alcatraz to mass re-education camps, mass re-education camps would be worse. But no, the question was, what if they got everything they wanted? And I don't know this about Hassan, but like, look, if Trump got everything he wanted, we would live in a white nationalist, fascist hellscape where he and his family were essentially monarchical rulers, and we wouldn't have free speech, and we wouldn't have free and fair elections, and we'd have a fucking horrible imperialist, probably foreign policy. Our a lot of our welfare state and our social services would be gutted to the bone. I don't know. It's like saying like, would you rather live in like the Soviet Union or like fascist Italy or something? And it's like, fuck, I don't know. I mean, maybe it depends on who you are, the time period, but God, that's a terrible choice. But I do think probably it's the case that like the Soviet Union would be better than fascist Italy. But I don't, like I said, maybe it does depend on the person. So anyway,
I mean, it's like a LL question, right? It doesn't matter what answer you'll give. Someone will always have an issue with what answer you'll give. I don't know, dude. It's just like, yeah. I just talked to J Stoke about this on stream. Really? Okay, we'll have to watch
let's
that.
see. What do lefties actually believe? Well, why not? Obviously, depends on the lefty. What can you say other than that? Let's see. It's good to have substantive disagreement, I would think. Natural phenomenon says smiley face. Let's see.
100 people, Foodshops. Let's make that 120.
What literature do you have where someone can read up on social democracies? I mean, with regard to actual literature, I'm not sure. I mean, you can look at the history of each social democratic country, go to the Wikipedia pages, and just kind of read about it. I think reading about their leaders, like the social democratic, like early social democratic leaders, like Attlee or a lot of like the Nordic social democrats that took power and kind of like started, doing their socialism essentially. I think that's all pretty interesting stuff. There was an interesting, I can't remember the book title. It was essentially I can't recall if it was a pamphlet or like a book that Clement Attlee wrote, and I thought it was very interesting for a number of reasons. So one question that I had when I was researching was like, how did people like Attlee, because think about it, right? We had all these anti-communist foreign policies from like all of these different Western governments, but at the same time, you had people like Attlee that were part of like Allied leadership, but who were socialists, right? It's like, how do they feel about all this like anti-leftist, anti-communist, propaganda and stuff from the Western powers? And
okay, 100 people is not beating J-Stock. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I wish, okay?
There was an interesting pamphlet that he wrote where he essentially talks about how a lot of Western socialists of that time, the way that they viewed the Soviet Union was, look, it was pretty clean, the difference, right? It was like, hey, we believe in democracy and democratic institutions, and the Soviet Union socialists just don't. And that's a pretty fucking big difference, right? I thought that was pretty interesting. I can't recall what the actual title of that was, but you can look at like Clement Attlee's his publication, his like list of publications on his wiki page. I think I found it there. So let's see. I think AOC is a SOCDEM, but she's a DSA member. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure with regards to how like steadfast her socialism is. I mean, she might just say that
I bet you have better quality viewers. Oh no, I agree 100% with that. When I look at J Stokes chat, I just can't imagine feeling satisfied at your own fucking audience, dude. I'm not gonna lie. All right, I see my chat and I'm like, these people are the best. Okay, the goat.
Look, I believe in I believe in markets and private ownership, and I just think that we should have things like healthcare and public transit. It's like, okay, I guess she just endorses like the Nordic model basically. Maybe that is the case. I mean, I know that Bernie is certainly a committed socialist. You can look at a lot of his old things. He didn't really use that rhetoric when he ran for president, but he's definitely a full-on, like, wants to socialize the means of production socialist. Same thing with, like, Mom Downey. So it just depends on the DSA member. Much as a liberal Zionist centrist that has never been right. Well, he's been right-wing. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, he is, well, I don't know. I guess I don't really know if Hutch would call himself a Zionist. I don't really know. I don't really care about any of that. Look, obviously Hutch is more moderate than I am, but that's part of the reason, some people are like, why is Hutch even on the show? Fucking everyone just shits on him all the time. And it's like, yeah, everyone's shitting on me and Pisco now.
Well, the thing is that Hutch he's just chill, all right? I mean, I feel like he's the kind of person where you can have a huge argument with him and he wouldn't take it personally. Like, I feel like Hutch is just simply that kind of person.
No, I mean, I think
unless your name is Ogre Boy, okay, then it's Jover.
That's part of what makes the podcast interesting. It's not just like three progressives just agreeing on everything. Instead we have some contrast. Socialists pretend to be anti-electoral until it comes to voting, which they still end up doing. Well, yeah, I mean, some socialists are anti-electoral in nature. I've disagreed with them. I don't think that's a good strategy for organizing in general. If you do believe in things like mutual aid or state agitation, that doesn't mean that you can't vote. It's a very bizarre kind of like dichotomy to present to yourself. It's very arbitrary as well, and also it just doesn't seem very effective. Let's see. So yeah, we have the woke Sweden socialism that is just capitalism. I mean, I don't think that Swedish socialism is capitalism. Again, if you just read those leaders, like the people who established like social democracy in the Nordic countries, they were socialists who believed they were engaging in socialism, right? Now, obviously, they were incrementalists and reformists. They didn't just do everything they wanted all the time. They left power when they lost elections, right? They had to make political compromises. They had to control their caucus. But that doesn't mean that they weren't engaging in what they felt like was socialism as a process. Not from what I saw. He was against using the term because he said no one could give a good definition for it. Not sure what you mean, Lost. It is literally Pearl. I'm not sure what you're talking about, guys. GD is in. Join the waiting room. Anyway, guys, yeah, again, calling Sweden capitalist, I mean, again, it's a mix of socialist and capitalist institutions. Same thing with Norway, same thing with every country, right? But again, if you look at the way that they have mixed themselves, right, that they do have a substantially higher amount of social ownership and public ownership and social...
Is it Path of Exile that's making him lag?
...institutions, then...
Can't tell.
places like America or Canada or the UK or anything like that. They're very, very, what you could say like, socialist in nature. So
Check my CPU.
and it's labeled because he saw some people claim
usage.
any two-stater was a Zionist. Oh yeah, well Norm Finkelstein is a two-stater. Cenk Uygur is a two-stater. These aren't exactly Zionists if you ask me. So I remember hearing Scene was attempted to buy out companies in the mid-70s, but ended up going back on that. They were socialist in nature, at least. Yeah, I think you're referencing the Meitner plan, but the thing again is that they just, they lost elections, and so they left power, right? These were just electoralist socialists who believe in democracy as a process.
Should be fine.
All right, I've got a caller. Who wants to call in?
Just listen.
Nathaniel, you're on air. How can I help you?
Listen, you don't need to look at Econoboi's face, okay? This guy isn't exactly. Let's just say he's a 4 out of 10, okay? All right, you don't need to look at Econoboi. Just listen to his audio, okay?
How's it going, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm at my grandparents' house. Just won the annual picnic egg toss. I'm feeling good.
Okay, Polish grandparents?
Polish grandparents, yep.
Amazing. Okay.
So I'm just wondering. I didn't really watch the episode, right? I'm not. I don't watch any of your content. As someone who moderates your Discord, that's a requirement.
Yeah, that's fair.
But so why? So the argument was that the left-leaning media is shitting on AOC too much for this Iron Dome vote or whatever it is, right? And you were saying you don't think the media, they have really that much consequence. And Hutch was like, you're treating these people with kid gloves and then whatever. Am I getting this?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's just in New York because I live there. But I've met like more than one person who's like watches Hassan and then it was like, I don't really want to vote for a genocide at all, and maybe that's not like a representative thing, but I think he does have the impacts. But also I see like, well, they're gonna have that impact anyway. And it's not like if you guys yell at them, it's gonna make a difference, right? Maybe the alternative media sphere could do, a better job with being like, look, actually, this, AOC vote was good or whatever. I do agree with going on the shows because it's like, if you can get a good debate, you might as well go on as long as they're not just gonna beat you over the head with whatever.
That's like the dumbest opinion someone could have, right? Because Democrats go on Fox News. Like you're gonna go on Sean Hannity but not Hassan's show? Like that's what the fuck? What would be the that doesn't make sense. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the only show I won't go on is Live and Learn because that seems like a disgusting, terrible place to be.
That's fair. Yeah, depending on who you ask. Obviously, very left-wing evil people, very right-wing evil people. It just depends on who you ask.
I have the question though about like I think I asked it in someone earlier. You're talking about if someone isn't afraid of or someone doesn't want to redistrict or the filibuster or whatever primary them.
Yep.
What are some lines that you think you have like with the Democrats? Both like on the right and on the left. Like if someone's like far left enough to be like, look, we need to just nuke Israel, like Alavosh, is that disqualifying for you, like on principle, or if someone is based and Chad and pro-life, but still Democrat?
Like on Hassan's show, he has no influence from any Econoboi. Dude. Oh. Dude, I'm telling you, dude. I'm telling you, this guy's like the definition of trying to have your cake and eat it too. Like this is literally. So again, okay, I just want to remind everyone that he literally acknowledged that Hassan was important enough to get an interview with like actual real in-office politicians, right? But apparently, maybe he's not important enough for anything. Okay. Like, how do you reconcile these? You can't. You just can't reconcile.
Like Henry Cuellar, for example, is that like a thing where gay marriage is too far right, or like what's the deal? On either side, like specific issues.
It's a it's a weighted decision, of course. I mean, it just kind of depends on the circumstance. I would say Henry Cuellar is like absolutely somebody that I would primary.
He's like getting indicted for corruption.
Yeah,
so,
like he's an extremely right-wing Democrat. His district isn't even that right-wing. And to the extent that we're like, oh, we need like a moderate. It's like, could we have a moderate that's not also corrupt? Like, I don't know. Henry Cuellar is like a terrible person. So yeah, same thing. I mean, I think
it's pro-life though. Okay, love him.
Yeah, it's a weighted decision. I mean, it just it depends. Like it's what I told Hush. Like I think that getting rid of the filibuster is like a major factor for me, but it's not literally just the only. Like if somebody's like, I'm in favor of getting rid of the filibuster, but I believe in slavery, I'd be like, you know what? I'm probably not. I even though the filibuster.
It's like a dude who's like, there's only one thing I hate more than gay people, and it's Donald Trump. Okay, and he like votes against Donald Trump in every single vote, but he's also like, not a fan of the gays.
Yeah, I would probably I'd probably want to primary that person. Yeah, I mean, I think
okay.
Because I don't know that like I don't know that you need that kind of rhetoric to be successful in places like that. I mean, look at Andy Beshear in Kentucky, right? Andy Beshear has not, he hasn't really compromised at all with regards to like trans issues, gay issues. He's pro-choice, and he's a very popular governor in Kentucky, right? And we could say like, oh, gubernatorial races are different. Andy Beshear particularly is different. It's like, okay, well, but again, all I would need to prove is that there's just examples where it's not necessary, and I just have a very hard time accepting like homophobia in my political candidates, right? Because it just doesn't seem totally necessary. Take a look at like John Bel Edwards over in Louisiana, right? He was a popular 2-term governor, statewide elected. He left office in 2023, I think it was. So this is a pretty modern like Democrat, and I think he had a more pro-life stance, but he was also again like relatively pro-gay rights. Defended the welfare state, expanded Medicaid in Louisiana.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, when it comes to gay rights, isn't that like kind of the bare minimum at this point? Like I feel like I don't even think Republicans are. I don't even think Republicans dare to say like, oh, well, we are against gay rights. I don't think no Republicans are running on that. No Republicans running on like oh, we have to like take away gay rights. Like, I don't think that's happening. Maybe the transgender thing is a little bit wild, but like not gay rights, right? These two are different things. Yeah. Kentucky had very corrupt figures before Bishar, which is why he's popular. I don't know. I don't know
Louisiana,
anything
and,
about
all these things,
Kentucky.
right? And so it's like, yeah, I mean,
All I know about Kentucky is that they probably have fried chicken.
that's probably a pretty, like he's definitely better than a Republican, right? But he's
Bad
also
joke.
another example of where you just don't have to be like basically completely conservative on like every conceivable issue in order to win in these areas. Oh my God, Nathaniel, what's happening in the background? Jesus.
Dog,
Loud Polish family.
I gotta hang up now. Thanks for having me on.
All right, talk to you later. Bye. Well, guys, that was Nathaniel, one of my mods on Discord, also Polish American. So, yeah, I feel like there's a conflation between redistribution and socialism going on. I mean, that often happens, Purple Monkey Dishwasher. Econoboi, by being a socialist, you are on the fringe of the Democratic Party. Why should they listen to you on who should or shouldn't be on the party? I mean, obviously, JP, I'm just speaking from the perspective of one voter. I'm just speaking from the perspective of one voter, one person.
Okay, listen, if Bashir's dad is a fucking governor, dude, he has like generational clout, dude, right? Like, if you have generational clout, like, fuck. Yeah, of course.
I do happen to think that, and again, like, this is one thing, like, people just have this view about my views just because I use the socialist label now. I'm not saying, and I've said this a billion times, okay? I don't want to get too triggered. That the Democratic Party, that number one, I'm very far left, and I'm on the fringe of the party. I've admitted that several times. I've never hid that. I've never said anything otherwise. I've also said that Democrats, just like the group of people that call themselves Democrats, are not all just progressives in waiting, that this is a group of moderate people and progressive people. And I don't know which group is bigger than the other one. If I had to guess, probably like your progressives represent maybe, I don't know, 45% of the party, and your more moderate people represent about 55%. And then within those two groups, within the progressives and within the moderates, you've got a whole spectrum there as well. So, I mean, look, I would never disagree with that characterization, right? That you're not always going to be able to just be as far left on every conceivable issue everywhere in the country and expect to be.
I think the biggest travesty of the poll sphere is how none of these people are funny. The only reason okay, listen, I can't deny anymore. I think I'm a pretty funny person, okay? So that's probably why. That explains a lot, okay? But yeah, I mean, you're right. Like, none of these people can, they're a little bit short of the stick.
Be able to win. But at the same time, yeah, like we were just talking about with Nathaniel, like I don't think that means that you have to be like, to win a statewide race in Louisiana, you just got to hate gay people. Like, no, fuck that. Like, no, I don't think I'd vote for a Democrat who is homophobic because I'm like, oh, like he's a Democrat and the homophobia is really what's going to do him, get him over the line in this election. Like, I don't think there's a lot of evidence for that personally. And in terms of why people watching should listen to me, I mean, I don't claim, I don't make my money doing political commentary. That's not my profession. I do have a degree in political science for whatever that's worth, I guess, but it's not like I didn't specialize in elections or anything like that.
Degree in political science. That's a fucking janitor degree, dude. Listen, I don't want to be too mean, okay? But like, I'm just saying, if you have a degree in political science, ooh, that's rough, buddy.
I'm not like a Nate Silver like data guru on these kind of things, but I do think I have a sense.
However, I will say that at least you finish your degree, okay?
Of how elections go, and I have a sense of the polling and where things are. And, I think whether I'm always right or wrong some of the time, I mean, I think that I've got at least an informed and educated perspective on things where I can at least have educated disagreements with people. Look at the conversation that I had with Erudite on Live and Learn, where she had this theory that basically Democrats hate men, or she said that they hate masculinity. And she said that was like one of the big reasons why Democrats are having like such a hard time with young men. And I felt like I came pretty correct in that conversation about, look, I mean, I don't find a lot of evidence for that, and I referenced a lot of things, and I don't know how people felt like I did in that conversation, but I don't know, I felt like that was a pretty challenging conversation for the both of us, and I thought it was just an example of how it just seems like I've got at least a reasonable like worldview of my theory of elections and how things work out. Let's see, you don't hear someone coming out as a liberal unless you go to Liberty University. Yeah.
Oh god, that just reminds me, like, we have to watch Erudite interviewing Tectone. Like, oh god, that's gonna be such a brain rot. We have to finish looking at that one, but like that one is just like pure fucking stupid brain rot. Holy shit.
Sure. People think of free lunch for school children as communism. Some people do, M6, and that's very frustrating. I think the reason they voted for somebody else than Kamala was because they at least acted like they were going to do something about the war and not just answer, I would have done anything different than Biden. Yeah, I think you're talking about Dearborn. I mean, people bring up Dearborn as an example. Again, if anyone has ever been familiar with Dearborn ever, okay, or followed it or knows about the community there or anything, it's not like they're all a bunch of Hassan fans. Econoboi, I believe the authoritarianism of Trump and the vanguardism of the far left has warped people's understandings of the way in which electoralism works. That is what Hutch is worried about. I don't know what you mean. I mean, obviously, I don't think Well, sure. I think some people on the left have this like very radical view with regards to elections, like, oh, elections just don't matter. Elections are just a reinforcement of state power. Elections are just a reinforcement of the capitalist paradigm. Don't agree with that. Never have. Never said anything different. Right. So, you know, I will believe left streamers have impact when my coworkers won't shut up about them, like Joe Rogan. Yeah, DeWest. I mean, again, I could certainly envision a future where, boomers and Gen Xers die off and we're left with Gen Alphas and Millennials and Gen Zers running things, and Hassan's like 50 years old, and Hassan is like, he literally is like a very influential, like mainstream media figure. Could totally see that happening. Just don't think that that's the present that we live in. Hassan, or not Hassan, fuck. Harris lost because she ran a dog shit campaign, parading around Liz Cheney saying she wouldn't change a thing. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't think that, again, I want
He's like some dude.
to be clear. My theory of why Harris lost is not that theory. It's not like, oh, Harris is just a dumbass and ran a shit.
I think what's especially crazy, I guess, is like, it oftentimes feels as though, dude, I'm sorry. It's just like, I guess the higher concurrent viewers you have, like, fuck. Like, this is all coming on to me very quick, okay? I mean, like, I talked to people like that before, but it's like people are now, like, DMing me out of nowhere. Shit, like...
campaign. I do think there were some strategic missteps. I do think there's a more optimal platform. There is a more optimal messaging strategy. There is a more optimal media strategy out there. But we have to keep in mind.
It's because of you guys, okay? You guys are making my concurrent viewer count go higher, okay? Which is causing them to, notice me. All right,
we've got to keep in mind that all those things, I think it's probably those things. Maybe it's like 1% of the vote or something like that, right? And don't get me wrong, like 1% of the vote could be the difference between winning and losing in a lot of states. I don't think Kamala wins, even with a more optimal strategy like I'm describing. I think that the reason that is because most of the reason why she lost were factors out of her control. It was the macro environment was going to be a tough year for Democrats no matter what. It was the fact that Trump had a lot of name recognition and brand equity amongst a large portion of the people, where he clearly inspires turnout to some regard. It was the fact that Biden was just really unpopular and she was attached to him and he dropped out super duper fucking late and we didn't have a competitive primary. Just like all these things, right? Like, and those are not things that were within her control necessarily. And so I think that's for the most part why she lost. I predicted that Kamala would win. I got that wrong. So it's like, how did I update my priors? In a number of ways. Number one, hey, it turns out people seem to be really mad when prices go up, even if their paycheck goes up more than prices go up. People seem to be more upset about prices going up than higher rates of unemployment. And vice versa, even though unemployment is low, that doesn't mean people aren't really pissed off about prices going up, right? So that's one of the ways.
Anyway, sorry. Okay, fuck, I was throwing off. Dude, I'm still a little bit flabbergasted by that. Okay, shit. Yeah, anyway. I guess my point here is that, in terms of Econoboi, if he's talking about, like, the 1% margins, then yeah, he's a little bit delulu, okay? Because you don't know, like you don't know how much, like, a certain space can influence things, if that makes sense, right? Like, you can always say, oh yeah, this one lefty political space doesn't actually influence anything electorally, right? However, obviously it seems as though that it does, right, to some degree. So it's like, to figure out how much it affects it, then yeah, we have to look at the numbers. We have to look at, different kinds of things. And I think Hutch is completely correct, right? We did actually lose. We did actually lose by a certain percentage that is totally reconcilable by Hassan, right? Absolutely. Anyway.
That I updated my priors.
Do you like Mr. Putin? I love Mr. Putin. But maybe he has adopted cringe views now that I possibly hate. I don't know. I have no opinion on him anymore.
I think that was probably the single biggest way that I updated my priors, right? And how it's like, I think that would have made the biggest difference in me, like, deciding to pick Kamala over Donald Trump. Number two, I started taking betting markets a lot more seriously. Betting markets seem to do an extremely good job of predicting who's going to win elections, just period. I mean, betting markets seem to have been, I've never seen a betting market be wrong on an election in America. It's probably, maybe there's some like low liquidity markets, like low interest markets where it does happen, but I mean, fuck, when it comes to like your presidential elections and things like that and your Senate and governor races, it really seems.
I'm sure, dude, I'm sure that Econoboi doesn't mean this as a serious statement, right? Right? Like, I'm pretty sure, like, that would obviously be a joke. I triggered J-Stock tonight, Lamau. Tried to join his chat to debate him, but he banned me for calling him Jew Stalker. I mean, you called him Jew Stalker, to be fair, okay? He's probably gonna...
Like, betting markets are very, very accurate. So I'm gonna be.
Like, the thing is if someone comes into my chat and calls me a pedo, I'll probably ban them too, to be fair, okay? Listen, all right? If J-Stock is my greatest op, if J-Stock is my greatest op, I gotta respect my ops, okay? Rate Econoboi's fit? Yeah, 0 out of 10. Just kidding. Probably like a 2 out of 10. 2 out of 10. I would say like Econoboy's Fizz 2 out of 10. Okay, like come on, dude. This is like a dad shirt, dude. Like, this is a fucking dad shirt. Like, okay.
Looking at betting markets, probably a lot closer when it comes to subsequent predictions. So
Like it's clearly a hand-me-down. You didn't put any effort into it, right? Like it's clear you didn't put any effort.
I think you should give qualified support for the leadership. Not sure what you mean, Loads. The last anti-gay
get
left
any
politician
points from me.
died out after the 90s. Yeah, I think that's probably right. That sounds, well, I mean, after the 90s, I guess. I mean, literally that's true. But I mean, obviously Obama didn't endorse gay marriage until like, what was it, 2013 or something like that? Was it? No, it wasn't 2013. I think it was like, what, 2011 or something like that. So it's, not that far ago that Democrats just didn't endorse gay marriage and things like that. Completely disagree, says White Knight. Not sure what you're disagreeing about. You don't really notice a raise as directly so much as deposits these days, but you do notice prices going up when you shop. Yep, Dark Pumpkin, that's definitely true. Were betting markets good in 2016? I seem to remember them still being pretty pro-Hillary. No idea about 2016. I don't really know how popular... I don't really know how popular betting markets even were in 2016. I mean, certainly it wasn't something that I had heard of in 2016.
That was tough.
I mean, I was very, very fucking involved in politics in 2016. I think that they were correct in 2020. They were certainly correct in 2024. This most recent election, when it came to Mamdani, they were correct. They were correct. And that was the betting markets were very close in that election, right? So but I believe that they did actually flip towards Mamdani right before.
Huh? Is Mantis in this chat? You just tagged Mantis. Where?
Before the votes started actually getting counted. And so I guess they were technically correct.
Okay.
That's right. My 12 keys on my article. Yeah, the
Generic dude can confirm something equals random polo. I know because I did this when I was still male presenting. Okay.
Econo keys is actually what I follow now, guys. Go to my article on my Democratic Party wish list to find those out. That was when Predicted sort of blew up, says Sax Whale. Yeah, I don't, maybe they were right in 20. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. There's probably some good papers out there about generally speaking the accuracy of prediction markets. So the fascism is Alligator Alcatraz and January 6th, not endorsing a political candidate. Not sure what you mean, Captain McNugget. Betting markets were hyper niche in 2016. Yeah, I mean that was my sense of the things. I don't recall basically anybody really. I don't think I'd ever heard anybody make any reference ever from news media, online figures, friends, nobody that I can never recall anybody talking about betting markets in 2016.